Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Dixion the Gamer, and today we are going to be going over Horizon Zero Dawn, the Remastered Edition. We're going to be taking a look at our benchmark scores from 1440p up to 4K, and also stock versus overclock settings. So let's get into it. Alright, so first I'm going to go over the settings. So we are going to be starting off at 1440p using exclusive full screen. VSync is off, latency is on. We're going to be starting off with DLAA to get a baseline. No DLSS, and I do also want to make mention that this has been injected with DLSS 4 using the DLSS swapper application. And we're going to be starting off with frame gen off. But remember, when you do turn off frame generation, you have to turn latency reflex back on. Alright, so we're going to apply all that. Cool beans. And we are going to start with our benchmark to see what we get with our stock settings. Let's go. Alright, so just some quick observations. We are at about 2880 megahertz on the core. GPU usage is in the low 90s. 54 Celsius temperature. VRAM usage 10.3 gigs, which is relatively high in my opinion for 1440p. And temps are great on the CPU. GPU power is low 200 watts, so it's really not using its muscles all that much. Latency is great. This is PC latency, so it's just the average time it takes from the GPU to the game engine to your monitor. And yeah, everything's looking good so far, so I'll catch you guys at the end screen.
Like what I have for sale, I promise.
I've got all the best goods here. Won't cost you a shard just to look.
You'll regret all the best goods here.
All right, and that's going to give us 139 average frames per second on our test system here. And again, this is with DLAA at 1440p. So what we're going to do is run our overclocking. We're going to add 375 to the core and 2000 to the VRAM. And I'll catch you back on the next screen. Also want to quickly go over our graphics presets. So we are running the very high preset here. Didn't touch anything as far as the preset. And yep, so we're going to run that benchmark once more. And here's a word of advice, by the way, with this game. It is very sensitive to any changes you do hardware-wise. What I mean by that is if you go out to MSI Afterburner and apply some settings or anything else, apply some settings, You want to restart the game first before you do that, because you may get a crash. You're probably going to get a crash if you just keep it in game and then run your settings. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. So I'll see you on the next screen. All right, so these are our overclock settings here, and it looks like the GPU is working quite a bit harder now. We did get up to 98, 99% GPU usage, and 3247 megahertz on the core, 270 watts now, so that's 50 watts extra that we are pumping out now. And the VRAM usage still about a little over 10 gigs, and our latency is so low that it is hard to, it's not measuring correctly, so it's probably in the low millisecond range. So anyway, I'll see you in the next screen. Okay, and we're back. So we jumped pretty high. We went from 139, if I remember correctly, on average frame rate previously, to 164. That is a massive jump. That is almost 18% performance just from sliding, scaling, adjusting your sliders on MSI Afterburner. That's incredible. Really surprised to see that from 1440p. Usually the 5080 gets its most performance jump on 4K. But speaking of 4K, we're going to run the same tests with the 4K DLAA, and we're going to see what the GPU does between 4K native, or DLSS, I should say, but 4K DLAA stock versus overclock. See you in the next screen. Alright, and we are back with those results for 4K native using DLAA. And I did that test totally off screen. There was no OSD from RivaTuner or anything of that nature. And I only started the recording at the end of the benchmark at the screen here. So as you can see, we got 96 frames per second, and that is on our stock settings for the GPU. And now we are going to do an overclock and see what that can do for us. Alright, and we are back with those results, and we got up to 105 from the previous results. So I will share the percentage difference down below. But so that's all well and good. So now let's get into in-game presentation so we can see what this thing is really running. All right, so we are in game now, and we are going to be starting it off at 1440p with the stock settings, and things look really good for 1440p. It's actually pretty impressive. And you know, with a frame rate like this at 115 frames a second average, PC latency is at about 19-20 milliseconds. Snappy performance, no observable delays of any kind. VRAM usage is a cool 9,800 megabytes. Yeah, this is really good. And obviously it can only get better from here, right? So I wouldn't even bother with DLSS at this point. I wouldn't even bother with Framegen at this point, because this is really good performance. And what we can do is, we could just run around a little bit here, and yeah, everything feels really snappy. And so what we're going to do is just go through the motions here. I am going to pick on frame generation, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave the game standing right here, and then we're going to add our overclock settings. Before frame generation, we're going to add in our overclocking settings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick save at this fireplace here. Alright, so we did just do that. So what do we see right now? We're seeing about 117-ish, 116, 117 frames a second, 1440p DLAA, very high preset. So let's kick in our overclocking and see what we can get. Alright, and we are back, and so let's see what we can do here. So we are getting a little bit higher frame rate. So I'm seeing about 123. I think it was at about what 115, 116 before. So you know, I could put the difference on screen. Not a huge jump, but you know that is to be expected when the game is running. 4K will probably be a bigger difference. So we can see that in a moment. But yeah, so far so good. So you know, more frame rate the better. Anytime you do get a bigger frame rate, you definitely can take that to the bank. All right, so we're gonna finish up our 1440p testing right now, and once again, I would just keep DLAA on. There's really no need to kick on even frame generation. But what I'm going to do is put on frame generation for you guys, just so you can see. And again, our latency actually looks like it did drop a little bit as well, and now it's at about 16 to 20 milliseconds, maybe a little bit. And since the game is running a little bit faster now, which is great. So I'll see you guys in a moment while I put on frame gen. And what I want to do is, I'm going to take a look at this wall here to see if frame gen makes these textures look any softer. So be right back. Right, and we are back. So from what I can tell, frame gen did not really soften the textures. Yeah, they look just as much. Well, maybe there is a slight difference in texture quality, but it's so hard to notice, and it could just be, I could just be lying and I don't know it. So from what I can tell, really not much of a difference in texture quality here. And we are getting 209 frames a second now. If I put in our latency, that only went up to about 25 milliseconds, which is excellent. So you can really max out those high refresh frame rates with frame generation without sacrificing too much latency. Controls feel really snappy. And this is DLSS 4 frame generation. This is not DLSS 3 frame gen. DLSS 3 frame gen is what this game comes with originally, so you will have to add in DLSS 4 frame gen from DLSS Swapper, and I will be showing the DLSS 4 version that I am using. Have no issues with it, it's very stable. So yeah, what we're going to do next is kick it up to 4K and see what it looks like. Alright, so we are back in 4K, and I will have the difference between 4K with stock settings on the GPU and 4K with our overclock, so you guys can take a look at that and compare. And yeah, I definitely recommend getting it. On my time, it was about 11% or so, which is a really nice uplift. And so this is 4K DLAA. We did not activate any upscaling or frame generation as of yet, but right now it's nighttime, so you know I can't really pick and choose when I want to record, unfortunately, as the time the daylight is dynamic, so I don't know if in the daytime you get lower or better performance, but so far so good. We're getting at about 90 frames a second, just about 80s to 90s. And I do want to make note that reflex is off. Just keep in mind, reflex does lower your frame rate if you enable it, so you definitely want to keep that off if you're not planning on using frame gen. The game will do that by itself, so you don't really need to. Let's snipe these guys here. So yeah, so far so good. I definitely play the game like this,
If you don't fight,
and this is a really smooth frame rate to me. 80s to 90s. This will be my go-to playing this game. Really don't need DLSS, but hey, we're gonna switch DLSS
wanna
on
be you, fool.
and see what kind of frame rate and performance we're looking at. See if there's any texture quality loss or anything else of that nature. All right, be back in a moment. All right, so we do have DLSS quality active right now with frame generation off. And we're going to hit apply. So yes. And right off the bat, texture quality looks very similar to what I was already seeing. The DLSS 4 does add a little bit of sharpening from my observation. And, you know, it could be a good thing or a bad thing. In this game, it doesn't look like it's over sharpened too much. So that's good. And yeah, we're definitely keeping a lot of quality in the image here. So we got to boost up to about 100 frames a second now on 4K. Everything looks good. Yeah, I can definitely tell the image is a little bit sharper. And so to me, that's a good thing. You know, especially if you are running a really big screen, like I would say maybe 36, 40-inch monitors or even a TV. If you're playing on a television, you're gonna want you know, that level of sharpness with your game. So responsiveness feels great. You guys can't see latency since I'm running without Framegen right now and without reflex, but I would gauge it at about 20-ish, 20 to 30 milliseconds right now. So yeah, all around very good, really responsive, really smooth, no artifacts. And so now what we're going to do is just max out the frame rate with our Framegen and see what it does to the image. All right, so now we have frame generation on, and that does kick on reflex as well. So, and now, all right, so we're hitting in the upper 160s. Image quality is still there. It's definitely still sharp from DLSS. The image stability is really good. The trees don't look like they're shimmering off in the background, or you know, any distracting flickering or anything else like that. Really, really good image, and I'm not seeing any crazy artifacts as far as ghosting or anything else like that. There's a slight bit of ghosting if you can look at Aloy's hair. A really, really slight bit of ghosting. See right there, if you can see this right here, you do see a little bit of ghosting, but it's not super distracting. I probably wouldn't even make mention of it if I was playing it normally. We are testing right now, so that's when you do see all kinds of stuff. But yeah, this is a really good experience. Really, really good experience. We're going to activate our latency counter right now. You guys can't see it because Shadowplay doesn't allow me to, or it doesn't show it for some strange reason. It doesn't show the NVIDIA overlay. But it's at 34 milliseconds, 31, so roughly 30 milliseconds of input lag, which is good. That's really, really good. So yeah, I would definitely play the game like this as well. My go-to is probably going to be 4K DLSS quality without the Framegen, just because you get that little it's really, really hard to notice, but you just don't have that ghosting effect when you spin the camera around looking at Aloy's head. So yeah, that's going to do it. We're just going to enjoy some gameplay for now, and if you guys did get something out of this content, please give a like and subscribe, and I'll have more uploads coming in the future. Appreciate all you guys' love and support. Leave me a comment, leave me a critique, troll me, whatever the case. I love it all. So yeah, see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Wherever these machines are made, I could find a way to override them there. Gotta put up a fight.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
I'm ready. Gotta be.